So you're thinking about moving to Las Vegas. You know I love living in Las Vegas. I name my channel that. I say I love living here all the time. However, you need to be aware this town is not set up for everyone. Not everyone belongs in Las Vegas. Not everyone should move to Las Vegas. And in fact, over the years, I've seen many reasons why people have decided to leave this town. I've got a list of them right here. I've got 12 things on the list. I call them the dirty dozen deal breakers. And if you can't handle the things on this list that I'm getting ready to talk to you about, then you should probably not move here. You should reconsider your idea about living here. And we're going all in on those dirty dozen deal breakers right now. By the way, my name's Micah Bleecher, and I love living in Las Vegas. I think you will too. That is, if you can get through these dirty dozen deal breakers I'm getting ready to talk about. And if you are thinking about moving here, you should know we put our whole heart into helping people make that move. We work hard. Now, I've lived here for more than 20 years, but before that, I've made several cross-country moves, and I understand the pain points. And, you know, my team is here to help you through those because helping people is what we do. So feel free to reach out to us. Send us a text, send us an email, schedule a Zoom. My information is right down below. I'd love to get started helping you make that painless, easy move to Las Vegas today. And if you want to know everything there is to know about the Las Vegas Valley, from tip to tip and everything in between, then come join me on my Las Vegas neighborhood deep dives. We're learning a lot, we're covering a lot of ground, we're having fun. Hit subscribe, tap the bell, and never miss a show. We got new shows every week. So as I mentioned, we're here today to talk about the 12 dirty dozen deal breakers that might prevent you from wanting to move here. So if you can't handle these, you got to think twice about it. So number one of our dirty dozen deal breakers that we're going all in on right now is the heat. Man, if you can't stand the heat of Las Vegas, of the Mojave Desert, you need to get out of the desert. It is terribly hot here in the summertime. Yes, you get acclimated to it. Yes, some people really do like the heat. There's many things you can do to work with it, but it gets hot. It's like a blast furnace in your face. Opening an oven door with your face too close, boom, that's what it feels like when you open your door in the summertime on some days when you go outside. It is hot. There's almost no way out of it if you're outside. Now, the summers here can get up to 117, 118 degrees right here in Las Vegas. Now, in places in California, right nearby, like in Death Valley, they can get up into the 120s, and that is crazy hot. In fact, last summer there was record heat in Death Valley. What did the people of Las Vegas do? Did they hide inside their house? No, they got in their car and they drove out to Death Valley so they can get pictures of the temperature on their car thermometers on their dashboard, and they're posting them on Instagram and Facebook. That's what the people of Las Vegas do when it's hot. But there are several things you can do to beat the heat, and the first thing, you need an air conditioner. You cannot live in Las Vegas. I don't know how the settlers did it. I don't know how the cowboys did it. I don't know how the indigenous people did it, but it is hot. The people here now cannot live here without air conditioning, and it's a medical problem if people don't have air conditioning or if it goes out in the summer, and it's something you got to think about. It's mandatory. These air conditioners last about 25 to 30 years, and after that they need to replace, and it's a large expense, and it's something you have to think about. When you're buying a house, you got to have the air conditioner inspected, looked at, and you have to estimate how much time is left in that and plan for replacing that at some point in the future. That's a mandatory about Las Vegas. The main thing that you want to do in the heat is stay hydrated. Now, the funny thing in Las Vegas, locals here will just hand you a bottle of water. Here, have a bottle of water, have a bottle of water. Everybody wants you to stay hydrated in Las Vegas. It's one of the easiest places to get a bottle of water. Half the time, people are just handing you one here and there, wherever you go. Everybody wants you to stay hydrated, and that is very important. You don't want to dry out. You want to drink plenty of water. Number two, you want to wear breathable clothes to deal with this heat. It's no joke. You want to wear good clothes and that can handle this kind of heat. You want to wear a wide brim hat, keep the sun off of your face. I usually wear a baseball hat. And another thing that's very important is to protect your skin with sunscreen. Skin cancer is real. We're at a higher elevation here than on the coast, and that sun can really do some damaging things to your skin. I get my skin checked out every year at my dermatologist. Also, you have to wear eye protection. If you can see, my eyes are light blue. The sun is so intense, it would damage the macula in my light blue eyes if I don't wear sunglasses. I don't just wear them to be cool. I need eye protection. Everyone that goes out should be wearing eye protection, skin protection, a hat when it's sunny outside. That's how serious the sun is here in Las Vegas. In the summer, people close their blinds during the day. Now you got to have plans for a power outage. If there's a power outage and your AC goes out, if you're older or maybe have small children or you're not well, you might have to go somewhere where there is air conditioning until power comes back on. It is that hot in the summertime. So that's number one, the heat. If you can't stand the heat, stay out of the desert. Okay, friends, we are on deal breaker number 2, the dirty dozen deal breakers. Number 2, the cold. Now, I know I just said the heat is a problem, but let me tell you, in the winter, you'll be amazed at how cold it gets. It's like sometimes it's so cold, I'm going like, I thought we were in a desert. Why is it so cold? We are at an elevation. We are in a high desert where Strip is at about 2,000 feet, and as you go up into Summerlin or on the edges, it gets a lot higher. It gets chilly, and it's a dry cold. It's not like the heat. It's a dry cold. Your hands kind of crack up. My finger. I have to put lotion on my hands all the time. I have to wear gloves when I do dishes. Otherwise, my hands crack up. Anyway, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. But if you can't stand the cold, this may not be the place for you. There's times when I think I might need a warm place to go in the winter. It gets so cold here. Some people leave during the summer. I think I need to leave in the winter. So it just depends on how you feel about things. I have acclimated to the heat, and it's the cold that I don't seem to like anymore. So number 2 of the deal breakers, it gets cold. You wonder how these rocks just hold on to the cold in the wintertime. Number 2, it's the cold. Can't stand the cold, get out of the desert. Okay, friends, deal breaker number 3. Deal breaker 3. 30 dozen deal breakers. Number 3 is road construction. It might drive you crazy. It seems to be driving a lot of my friends crazy. It drives me crazy sometimes. The road construction around here sometimes is nuts. Now, right now, there's a project coming up, I-11, where they're making a loop from Arizona to 95, and apparently that's going to go all the way up to Reno at some point. Well, anyway, they're making that highway loop over there, and they're working on the 95 here in town, and it's a mess right now. If I have a listing to go to in Lake Las Vegas, it can take me 40-something minutes to get there when I have to wait into this construction. There are other projects all over town. They're getting ready to widen the Spaghetti Bowl in Henderson. They're getting ready to widen I-15 over by the Sloan area on the south side of town. They are doing construction all over. And then in town, they're doing all kinds of infrastructure projects. You'll probably hear about it when you come here. People are still a little bit fumed over all of the construction for the F1 race. A lot of people don't think that was a very good idea. In fact, some of the politicians are starting to point fingers at each other for allowing that in the first place. But that really messed up traffic and congestion, because when you're having all these highway projects, you're going to try and go through town and get through town on Desert Inn or one of the surface streets, and that F1 had everything shut down. It was a mess. One time I got stuck on the Strip. I was taking a friend across the Strip, and I was just going to show her the buildings and so forth. We got stuck in a traffic jam for an hour and a half because of F1 construction. They say it's going to be better the next time, and I hope it is. For the politicians' sake, they may have a tough time keeping their job if it doesn't get better. Anyway, this construction is all over the place. There are orange cones. Sometimes it seems like a conspiracy theory. They're just putting cones out when there's no work being done. I know that's not the case, but it feels that way sometimes. So if you feel like you can't stand road construction, this may not be the place for you. Now, 20-something years ago, it wasn't quite this bad, but you know, with an extra 750,000 people from 20 years ago, we have a lot of infrastructure issues, and so they're having to put in sewers and repave streets. I mean, it wouldn't do well to have potholes in these streets, so they've got to repave them. Anyway, that's going to drive you crazy. Road construction is going to drive you crazy. If you can't stand road construction, Las Vegas might not be the place for you, because we seem to be having a lot of that right now with all of the improvements going on. So road construction, the number 3 deal breaker. It may break your heart. Deal breaker number 3, road construction. Okay, friends, we are up to deal breaker number 4, and that is the high cost of auto insurance. Bad drivers, you hear people talk about them all the time. There's a lot of bad drivers here in Las Vegas, and personal injury lawyers. All those things go together. See, we are a state where we are a fault state when it comes to auto accidents and insurance claims, as opposed to a place like Florida, which is a no-fault state. So if somebody hits you in Florida, you can't sue them. You'd have to just go after your own insurance company. So it's like suing yourself for damages. In this state, it's a fault state. So you can hire a lawyer and sue the other insurance company for damages to recover when you've been damaged by someone else's carelessness in a car accident or any other kind of situation. But you see it a lot in car accidents. And so in this town, you see personal injury lawyers advertising all over the place, because they're trying to help people recover damages when they've been hurt. And so that's just a fact of Las Vegas. High car insurance rates, crazy drivers, and personal injury lawyers. So if you can't handle that, that's a deal breaker. So that's deal breaker number 4. All right, I'm just being straight with you, friends. Let me know in a comment down below what you're thinking about these deal breakers so far. Are these giving you any cause for pause, or are you still full speed ahead thinking about Las Vegas? Anyway, we are at deal breaker number 5. Deal breaker number 5, and this is kind of funny, but it's not funny if it causes you a problem, and that's illegal fireworks. I know it sounds crazy, but we're famous 2 days a year for fireworks. On New Year's Eve at midnight, a lot of the casinos blow fireworks off, and it's a beautiful show. People stay up till midnight and watch that. The other night is when they blow fireworks off of the top of casinos at 9 p.m. On the 4th of July for Independence Day. And that's great. Everybody loves it. It's beautiful. We all watch the fireworks. They're a great show. And usually many casinos around town are doing it. So it's just something spectacular to watch. And there are legal fireworks stands all over town selling the quote unquote safe and sane fireworks. And you can get those just about anywhere in town during those holidays. But there are also places to get what they call illegal fireworks, the very powerful skyrockets and things that explode, and they're not so safe and not so sane. And so people get them out at the Paiute Reservation, and there is a place where you can legally buy those and shoot them there at the reservation over in Paiute. But some people illegally put them in their car, take them back, and bring them back here to Las Vegas and shoot them off. The thing that I hear people complaining about the most is not the fire hazard, which it is one, and it can cause problems, but it's what it does to their pets. Apparently, these large booms, these explosions, can drive some dogs crazy because they have sensitive ears, some other pets. And so every 4th of July, I hear people complaining about the illegal fireworks and their pets being traumatized. And so if your pet has sensitive ears and they can't handle that once a year, this may not be the place for you. So it's just something I hear people complaining about every year when it comes to these fireworks. And you can see them all over town, the illegal ones blowing off. They have special hotlines for you to call or report them, but it doesn't seem to deter the guys that like shooting these things off. And they are kind of fun to watch, so I get it. I have shot off fireworks when I was a kid, so I understand they are kind of fun, but these illegal ones can really cause problems with the noise in pets' ears, and there is some fire hazard as well, as the fire department will tell you about. So anyway, deal breaker number 5, illegal fireworks, driving your pets crazy, something to consider. Okay, friends, deal breaker number 6, and that is pests. You know, like bugs and little furry critters and things like that. You know, it's something that we have to disclose when we are involved in a transaction on a house. We have a buyer's notice of disclosure everyone has to sign. One of the things on there is a list of all the little critters and pests that can bother people here in Las Vegas. I've lived elsewhere where the pest situation is completely out of control, and Las Vegas is nothing like that, but we do have some nasty little critters here. One of them is a scorpion, that bark scorpion. I don't think it's native to Las Vegas. They call it an Arizona bark scorpion, and it's probably imported here on some fill dirt or something. But those guys can cause you problems. I read that we haven't had a death in over 50 years from something like that, but the sting is very painful, and I've heard of people getting stung. If you're elderly or very young, it can be very dangerous. If you have an allergy to the venom, it can be very dangerous, so you need to see a medical professional. But these little guys can be problematic. Now, I've never had a scorpion at either of my houses here in Las Vegas, but I have friends that get them with regularity, and they have to get pest control out to take care of them. So that is one of the issues here in Las Vegas. The scorpions can be a real problem. They can sting, and you have to get professionals to take care of those. Now, the other pest that we get sometimes is black widow spiders. They're poisonous. You see them all over the United States in most places, but that's the other poisonous pest we can get that's a bug. Now, the other poisonous guy that we get once in a while is a rattlesnake. In 20 years, I've only ever seen one baby rattlesnake while I was playing golf out at the Paiute golf course, same place to get those illegal fireworks, but it was just a baby one. He minded his business, I minded my business, everything was fine. That's the only snake I've ever seen here in Las Vegas in over 20 years. There are some in the outer line areas. There are other critters that you need to be concerned about if you're living around the edges especially, but they can come in pretty deep, and that's coyotes. They will go after a small dog or a small pet and eat them when they're hungry. So people with small dogs, especially the ones living on the edges of town, they're very careful about how they let their small little dogs out at night, because these coyotes can get them. And sometimes they come all the way into town, but you don't see that too often. Of course, we do have ants. I never see anything worse than the little tiny, we call them sugar ants, that's not the name of them, but they can come in long trails. You see them all over. There are other kinds of ants. People don't worry about termites here, but they can be here. If you talk to a pest control expert, they have seen them on occasion, but this is not the kind of place, because it's so dry, we just don't get a heavy bug infestations like some of the southern states do, or where there's a lot more water, because that kind of keeps them away. Our altitude and our lack of water keeps a lot of the bugs away that would probably otherwise want to hang out here. We do get mosquitoes quite a bit. There was recently a mountain lion that came into town that had to be captured and dealt with, but we don't see that very often. That's very rare when something like that would happen, but we have at one time seen a mountain lion. Somebody thought it was a bobcat. No, it was a mountain lion. And so you see those kinds of things. The other thing you kind of see sometimes is wild burros. I know that might sound a little bit funny. They're not really a pest, but I have seen them on some of the golf courses that are around the edges. These animals were brought here around in the 1500s with the Spanish explorers and the prospectors and the other people that came later in the West. And they oftentimes just let these burros go. So we've got wild burros that are living around Las Vegas. And sometimes when you're on hikes around the edges, around Red Rock, around other places around town, when you're on the edges, you can sometimes see these wild burros, you know, out in the desert in various places. It's very interesting. Of course, we have rodents like any other city. We've got rodents. You'd think we wouldn't have rodents because, you know, it's kind of a new city, but we have them here. They have plenty of places to hide and eat. You see people with, you know, bait traps out. I have a feral cat that takes care of my rodents in my yard. We don't have any. That feral cat takes care of them. And there are small amounts of cockroaches and other bugs and things that you see elsewhere. It's a hotel. We got 150,000 hotel rooms here in town. It's a hotel city. Occasionally there's reports of bed bugs, but believe me, those casinos will take care of those things really quickly if they don't want a problem like that. So really, when you think about it, there's really not a lot of pest issues here in Las Vegas. The ones that I've personally dealt with, ants, mosquitoes, some rodents, things like that. I've never had a scorpion. but they do exist, and when they do, they can be pretty nasty. Pests are something to consider when you're thinking about moving to Las Vegas. However, I've lived in the South, and there is nothing like the pests that I saw when I was living in South Texas. Between the cockroaches and this and that and snakes all over the place, it is nothing like that here. We do have pests, but they seem to be manageable. Well, that was deal breaker number 6. And now we're up to deal breaker number 7. And deal breaker number 7 is the transient population, which seems to have been a problem for a long time. You know, you do hear about it. People kind of come and go. They want to check out Las Vegas. They try it out for a while. It doesn't sit up for them and they leave. That may be how it used to have been for a while, but according to the reports that I've been reading and the articles I've been reading in the Review Journal, our demographics have been changing. Back in the last crash, when we had the real estate crash of '08 and shortly thereafter, a lot of people left Las Vegas. And some people were moving into the valley, and those people moving in at that time, between 2000 and 2010, had incomes 5 or 10% below the people that were already here. So lower income people were moving in because, you know, it was a crash. There were good deals to be had. People were taking advantage of those. Now things are different. Now the demographics have changed completely. According to the article I'm reading, the income is 50% higher than the people that are here already. So the people moving in have higher incomes, more spending power. The demographics are changing. So it's completely changing the face of the population in Las Vegas. So I don't think we're going to have this transient population that I hear about. I don't think that's going to be the issue going forward. In fact, the people that are leaving now have lower incomes than the people that are coming. So it's rapidly changing. In fact, the fastest growing demographic is 65 and older, and that one is growing 5 times faster than the rest of the population. So that's what we're talking about. In fact, most of my viewers are 55 and older based on my demographics. So this should be interesting to you as well. So we're on to deal breaker number 8, and that is our water. We have 3 basic problems with water here in Southern Nevada. Number 1, it's hard, and you need a water softener to keep the minerals out of your fixtures and your appliances. They can wear them out. Number 2, there can be too much water in the form of flash floods, and that can be a problem sometimes. But our biggest problem with water is that there's not enough of it in Lake Mead because there's a big drought going on in the southwest part of the United States, and we don't have enough water. So not enough water is going into Lake Mead, not enough snow is landing in the Rocky Mountains and going into the Colorado River and coming into Lake Mead and filling it up. So we are on water restrictions. We can only water 1 day a week in the winter, 3 days a week in the fall and spring, and 6 days a week in the summer, of course, when it's hot, is the only time we can water our yards. We're getting paid to take grass out. I don't have grass in my yard. I've got artificial turf in the front with some desert landscaping around. I think it looks great. Everyone thinks it looks great. And I'm just not a big fan of grass anymore. I'm kind of over the whole grass thing. Don't like mowing it. Don't like taking care of it. My backyard just has plants, and mostly, drought tolerant plants. The water company will pay you to take out your grass, a certain amount per square foot. And they'll also help you detect leaks in your irrigation system and plumbing so that we don't lose any water into the ground. So they're pretty serious about it. They want to do everything they can do to help you save water. In fact, our population since 2002 has grown by 750,000. That's huge, right? But our water use has dropped by 33 billion gallons per year since 2002, even though we've had that population increase because we're working so hard to conserve water. So I think that's going to be the long-term solution, is to continue conserving, continue being efficient with water like we are now. We are one of the most water efficient cities on the whole planet. Every time you flush a toilet or turn on the faucet, it goes down into the sewer, gets reprocessed, and eventually put back into Lake Mead. All the water that goes into our drainage systems goes into Lake Mead from rainstorms. So the only water that doesn't get recaptured is the water that goes into the ground, and that's why there's restrictions on watering. So That's the situation. That's deal breaker number 8. If you don't like water restrictions and that's a problem for you, it may be a deal breaker for you to move here. Deal breaker number 8, we have some issues with water. Okay, friends, now we're up to deal breaker number 9 on the Dirty Dozen list. Deal breaker number 9. Comment below if any of these things are ringing true to you. I would love to hear from you. Anyway, Nevada ranks 45th, not very high, when it comes to doctors per capita. We're not well served when it comes to doctors. We have doctor shortage. And so what that means on a daily basis is it might mean that it's hard to get in to see your primary care physician. It might mean that it's hard to see your OBGYN. It might mean that, like for me, I have a hard time getting in to see a rheumatologist when I need one. A lot of times I have to do the telemedicine, on an iPad or whatever. Sometimes I have to see their PA. I can't even see the real doctor. I have to see the physician's assistant. And honestly, I'm okay with that in most cases. In my case, seeing the doctor is not going to make me healthier. How I treat myself, how healthy I behave is going to ultimately make me healthier in most cases. So I think a lot of it is how you work with things. I do know people that have left Las Vegas to leave for a city that had better medical care, like huge medical centers like Houston. I've seen people leave for Houston because they had serious medical issues and they just needed a lot more intense medical care than they could get here. And that is an issue for some people. Although I see doctors moving here all the time, and I do know that they're working on fixing this doctor shortage. And I think that the addition of the sports teams are going to bring in doctors, and over time, this doctor shortage is probably going to be solved. I think the doctor shortage is probably going to be solved before the water shortage. Anyway, that's just my opinion, not based on expertise, just my opinion. That's our deal breaker number 9, doctor shortage. Okay, friends, we're up to deal breaker number 10, and that is a land shortage. Now, I know we've been talking about a water shortage, a doctor shortage. Now I'm throwing land shortage on you. It's how it is. We have a very limited space to build in. Our whole valley is like in a bowl that's tilted from the west to the east, and it's only 26 by 28 miles. And in that valley, there's a limited amount of land to build on, and there's only so much land that still is available to build on. And so it's a question, where are we going to go in the future? And the government owns a lot of the land around Las Vegas. They might have to release a little bit of it for us to build on, for us to expand and grow. Anyway, that's why inventory is low, part of the reason. That's why there's not a lot of places to build in Las Vegas proper, is because there's a land shortage. And we're all feeling the effect of that as the price of houses go up and demand comes in strong for whatever is available. The land shortage is making the price of real estate go up. And that is deal breaker number 10. Okay, friends, we are at deal breaker number 11. Deal breaker number 11 out of the Dirty Dozen. We're almost done. That is allergies. That was something that kind of surprised us. We didn't think you'd move out to the desert and have an allergy problem. My wife has allergies, and they went crazy when we moved here. We were surprised. She was taking allergy pill after allergy pills, runny nose, red eyes, the whole 9 yards. She finally had to go to her allergy doctor, get tested. They figured out exactly what she had an allergy to and started giving her allergy shots, and it finally cleared up for the most part. She takes an occasional Zyrtec to deal with it, but she actually had to go to an allergist and get shots. There is so much pollen here in Las Vegas, it's very surprising. In fact, they actually had to outlaw a certain kind of olive tree and a mulberry tree. You can't plant those anymore because they generate so much pollen and cause people with allergies so many problems. Anyway, they do pollen counts. You can, get the pollen count with the news weather report on the news every morning. They keep track of it, and there are certain pollens that cause problems here in Las Vegas more than elsewhere, and that is, of course, tree pollen from mulberry and olive trees. Juniper pollen is pretty bad, and then ash tree pollen and ragweed pollen. Those are the worst offenders. And so if you have severe allergies or allergy problems, don't think that coming out to the desert is going to fix those. In fact, it might even exacerbate those because of the dry weather we have here. So according to the doctors at Sunrise Medical Center. Anyway, that's deal breaker number 11. If you have serious allergy problems, you may want to think twice before coming to Las Vegas. At least test it out. Get an allergist lined up before you move out here. Anyway, deal breaker number 11, allergies, pollens are pretty bad here in Las Vegas. Okay, friends, we're at our final dirty dozen deal breaker number 12. Our Clark County public schools are not rated highly. What can I say? I'm just looking at the ratings. I'm not a school expert. Our kids were grown when we moved here, so it was never really an issue for us. In fact, most of my clients are older and their kids are grown, and the quality of the schools doesn't come up in conversations. But the reality is, our schools are not rated the highest here in Clark County. I don't know why. It seems like the experts are having difficulty finding out why. Maybe the school district is too big. I really don't know. I know that there are individual schools that are highly rated, and so when you're shopping for a public school or a place here in town for one of your kids and you want them to go to the public schools, it's a good idea to check out the individual ratings of the school, like on niche.com or on greatschools.com, things like websites like that. They have these ratings, and so that you can take a look and figure out which schools have higher ratings than others, and that's going to be important. We have great private schools. I know a lot of people homeschool here in town. I wish I had better news on the public schools. I know teachers that are in the public schools and they're great people. I know students that have come out of the public schools that have gone on to do great things, but our school systems are not rated high. I wish it were otherwise, but it's not. If highly rated public schools are very important to you, then this might be a deal breaker for you. Deal breaker number 12 might be the death knell. I don't know. For most of my clients, it has not been an issue. For us, it was not an issue, but I know that for some people, it's a big issue. So that's why I'm telling it to you. I'm telling it to you straight, not sugarcoating it. We don't have highly rated schools around here. Some of them are very good. Our private schools are good, but you got to check on the individual ratings on each school before you make a decision. You want to know if that school is going to work out for you and your beautiful children. So deal breaker number 12, our schools are not highly rated here in Clark County. Well, friends, that was our dirty dozen deal breakers for not wanting to move here to Las Vegas. If you're still with me, well, maybe none of those deal breakers affected you. They didn't affect me. I love living here. My name is Micah Bleecher, and you know I love living here. I think you're going to love it too, as long as we can get past those deal breakers. So stay tuned for more video deep dives into Las Vegas and the great neighborhoods that we have here. Come join me on my adventures. We're learning things. We're covering a lot of ground. We're having fun. We got new shows every week. So hit subscribe, tap the bell, and never miss a show. And when you're ready, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, schedule a Zoom. My info's below. I'd love to hear from you. I'll get started today. Me and the team will get started helping you make that painless, easy move to Las Vegas today. We'll see you.